Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle and Happy New Year. I think this will be the first video for the new year. I am recording this on the last day of 2025. Not sure if I'll do this one first or another one. But anyway, if this is your your first time watching me for the year, Happy New Year. I watched a video of Artsy Erin on YouTube, and she did a similar page to this. And you guys know how much I love doing a reductive painting technique. And so I thought I will take inspiration from Erin and make my own version of what she's done. I know that she was also inspired by somebody else, but I can't remember who that was. So thank you for that inspiration. So I normally, well, not normally, but I've done a couple of these reductive painting pages over the years, and I really, really love doing them, even though they can feel a little bit scary. And I haven't done in a while, and I certainly haven't done one in a while that's circular. So normally I would do like leafy shapes or hearts or stars or something, but I haven't done a circular one in a while, so I thought we would give it a bash. So to start off with is I took some of Marlene's collage paper, the black and white one, and I just glued that down with some gel medium, tore it up into little pieces, and I just covered as much of my page as possible with what I had there. So I chose one with a little bit of text on. I love text in my work. And then I chose one that was really graphic, that square kind of symmetrical. Is that what you call it? Anyway, a really graphic one. And to glue that down, I just used some gel medium on my page, then I glue the paper over the top, and then I go over the top again with some gel medium. And I used my Studio Light brush that's specifically made for collaging or decoupaging. It's a really, really nice brush. The gel medium goes on really thinly with that one, so drying time is much reduced. Okay, so when I've got my papers down and dried, I went in with some of the warmer color in Marlene's paint range. So I went in with Ballet, Cheddar was the yellow. I went in with Kissy, which is a darker reddish pink. And I think I did Hot Curry as well, which is orange. Then I went over with some white gesso as well in just a couple of spots, and all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of paint onto my paper, and then I scrape it out with an old card. You could use a piece of cardboard from a box, or just an old credit card that you're not using anymore. Anything really to scrape it out. Okay, once I've got all of those layers down, I decided I love the warm tones in the background, but I do want to add a little bit of coolness. I knew that I would do the reductive painting with cool colors, but I also wanted some of those cool colors in my background. So first I tried doing just normal stenciling through this, lots of, I can't remember the stencil's name. Anyway, you can use any stencil. I first did normal stenciling, but I felt like there was too much blue. So I wiped it off with a baby wipe, and then I just do a little bit of reductive stenciling. So that is when I smear the paint on with my finger and put the stencil over the top, and then I wipe away the excess through that stencil. So it kind of leaves the ghost print of the stencil. I did that with, I think I used Sky for that. And for the little dots I used, I think Azure or Mermaid. So I just did normal stenciling with those dots. And I will be adding more dots. I really love dots in my work, so I figured we'll do some more dots. This time we did some white dots. So I'm just using my white gesso on the side there and I'm just adding them here and there. I think at this stage I didn't quite love the white stenciling over the top, but I knew a lot of it would get covered up, and it's all just part of creating some pattern and interest in the background. So I didn't bother trying to cover it up. Now I'm going in with some stamping, just using Marlene's texture stamps. And I first used some black archival ink, and this color is like a periwinkle blue, purplish kind of color, and I really, really liked the way that looked on my page, especially up close. I know that you can't really see it on the video, but up close it looked amazing. So first I thought that my page would be landscape, but then I decided, since it's a single page in my journal, I would make it a portrait after all. So I just turn my page up, and because this technique there's not really a top or a bottom part of the page, so you can actually just twist your page, turn it around. And that background can be used for anything. You can use to cut it up and make bookmarks or card fronts, or use it in your scrapbooking. So they call this kind of background that I did just there a masterboard that can be chopped up into little pieces. But of course, I'm using it as a whole piece for my art journal. Okay, now I'm going in. I went in with my Stabilo All pencil and I drew a couple of circles. I actually used my left hand for those circles because I wanted them to be a little bit wonky. And the only way that I could do that was with my left hand. So just scribbled some circles, and then I've gone in with azure at the bottom, and then I'm going in with sky in the middle, and at the top I'm going in with royal, which is a purple. So it kind of makes a bit of an ombre effect, going from the bottom to the top of the page. Now I know this part of the process can be quite scary because you've done all that work on the background and now you're covering it up. But because I knew that that was the plan from the beginning, I didn't get too precious about the background. I knew that I was going to cover it up, and I knew that the end result would work out, hopefully. So I confidently painted them out, and you can see now that those kind of bubbles show up really well against the contrasting background. I know that the inspiration that Erin used also had like a yellowy kind of haze around the bubbles, and Erin also did a yellowy haze, so I thought, well, since that was the inspiration, let's go with that. So I'm just using my acrylic paint marker from Marlene, which is just about dead. And I'm just going around those bubbles and smudging it out with my fingers just to create a little bit of a hazy effect. And I really like the way that that kind of pulled the yellow from the background to the foreground, the same way that the blue stenciling pulled the blue foreground into the background. That pen, because it was a little bit too dry, didn't work so well. So I'm just going in with some Happy paint from Marlene, which is a nice and bright yellow. And I'm also just going around those circles to blend out and make it almost look like, I guess, like little lights or like a candle kind of haze around them. I don't know. You can interpret that any way you like. Now, to define those circles a bit more, I'm going in with some black marker, and I'm doing a really wonky line around the circles on the inside, so not on the outside of the haze. The haze will stay on the outside, and then I do a line on the inside. And I'm making my lines deliberately thicker and thinner in some spaces because I knew that I wanted to do some black and white stripes. You know that I love a black and white stripe, so that's what I'm doing there. And then just a thinner paint pen to do a scribbly line around all of those bubbles as well. This just makes it look a little bit more artsy and a little bit more refined and finished off. I really like combining thicker lines and thinner lines together using different pens, just to make things a little bit more interesting. And you will also notice that I'm drying all of my layers in between, because I do want every layer that goes on the top, I don't want to disturb the layer at the bottom, and I want those layers, all the layers, I want them all quite defined. So I am drying in between. And of course, because I had the black there before I can go in with the white, I definitely needed to dry that black. So now I'm going in and I'm making my little black and white lines, and I'm also doing some dashes just to make it look a little bit interesting. And I really, really like the way that that looked. And of course, Erin's picture had little circular bits coming off into the blue background, or foreground, I should call it now. But I didn't want to do it exactly the same. So I'm using the frames stencil from Arlene, and it's got these little scallopy bits, and they were actually perfect for my shapes. They went around them quite nicely. So I'm just using those scallops with some white gesso. And then once that's dry, I will go in with my paint pen and just define those little scallops as well. Of course, I could have just done scallops freehand, but I'm not very good with them. So I like using the stencil as a guide, and then I just go over them to define them. So that's what I'm doing over there. And you can see just by adding those extra lines with my white paint pen, it just really helps everything to pop off that page and make everything come together nicely. Once that's dry, I will also go over those scallops with a black pen, just because I felt that those arches looked a little bit disconnected from the circles. So by adding the black line over the top of them, it makes them feel more like they are connected, or like whole objects, I guess. So it's a very subtle line, but it does make quite a difference. And now I'm going in and just doing some extra arches freehand, just to add a little touch extra. Quickly going to just punch my holes back into my background there that I lost when I've glued the collage papers down. And then I think I'm looking for something to add into the background. Yes. So I'm using this, also another texture stencil from Arlene. I think it's Frantic Deco, it's called. It's got lots of little bits, different shapes. And I just wanted to add a little bit of white to that background to just so it's not as empty as it was. You know that I don't leave anything empty. So, and I really like the way that that made the background and the foreground kind of appear more defined, I guess. So I'm going into my luxury paper elements, and I'm finding a couple of things because I thought I would add some images into my circles. Eventually, I think I did pause the video, and then I looked through the paper elements book from Arlene to find something to pop in there. Yeah, there we go. So I found a couple of girls in there that kind of matched the colors, and they all had the same kind of vibe to them. And all I'm doing is I'm trimming around the edges where they need to be trimmed a little bit, and I'm also cutting off their feet so they fit in the circles. This one's a mermaid and she's going to lose her tail. And I'm just fussy cutting around the little bits that weren't that didn't pop out quite nicely with from that book. And gluing them all down. I also found that little quote in that same book. It says dream a little, and I thought that that's perfect for this page. Also the girls looked a little bit dreamy, so I thought that's a great quote. Quickly going to glue that down, and I think that was about it for this page. I might have done, oh yes, I did do a little bit of a shadow around all of my girls with Stabilo All Pencil. So I just traced around them, and then I'm water activating it and pulling that shadow out from around them to push them out from that little background that they are sitting on top of. And now I'm going in with Punk, which is Marlene's purple, neon purple paint, and I'm just going in with my finger, and just here and there where I can see like a purplish, bluish kind of color in the background, I'm going over that with my finger, and I'm doing the same with the neon yellow, and I think I'll do the same with the orange as well, and that just brightens up that background a little bit more. Really happy with the way that it turned out, and I'm going to do a quick outline of all these girls to just define them a little bit more because they were sinking into that background a bit, so I just wanted to push them out a little bit more. All right, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here for another year. I look forward to everything that's coming up for you guys this year, and Happy New Year, and I will chat to you again soon. Bye.